Okay, so we come to the end, really, with the last two perfections, um, Metta Parami and Upekkha Parami. And I put these two together because I talk about them all the time, because they're part of the Brahma Viharas, and the Brahma Viharas is part of our Metta Bhavana, our Metta practice. So there's not very much I can say that you haven't heard before. The definition of metta is very vague. Usually it's defined as love, but this is not really clear at all. What does it mean to love something in romantic and emotional terms? It means to have an attachment to something. But we know that the simple teaching of whatever you're attached to will hurt you. So dhammic love or metta has to be more than that. And it's certainly not liking something. That we come to Dhamma practice and we hear about metta bhavana and loving kindness, and we think, oh, it means that I have to like all the things that actually I don't like. And it doesn't mean that at all. So the best that I have found, the best understanding to cultivate around metta is unconditional, unlimited, and boundless acceptance. Acceptance of the moment, acceptance of the beings in that moment, acceptance of yourself as you are manifesting in this moment, without any restrictions, without any judgments, without any qualifications that you need to be this way or that way or some other way. Without that voice in your head saying, well, I'm a Buddhist, so I should be different, or I should be better, or I should be something else. When all that falls away, again, this is the essence of our Dharma practice, that we let things fall away, things that have no value in our life, that really just contribute to our unhappiness, our difficulties, because life then becomes confusing. What are you? Are you a man or a woman? Are you German? Are you French? Are you British, Spanish? Are you American? Are you tall? Are you short? Are you attractive? Are you unattractive? So we have all these kinds of questions. Well, who am I? What identity can I put together that I can carry through the world and then project to everyone that I meet? And then we come to loving kindness, which says, well, just accept. This moment is like this. In this moment, you are tired, or you're hungry, or you're angry, or just to be accepting of that. And that's what ultimate love is. That's how we understand Metta Bhavana. Not to like something, not to be attached to it, but to be accepting of it in each different moment. It's beautiful. When we say that love is the strongest power in the universe, that's what we're talking about. The acceptance without always applying conditions to everything that you meet. And we just have to reflect. You know, at the end of these talks, I say, I offer this for your consideration and your reflection. That's what you need to do. You need to reflect on these things that you hear, and maybe you can come to a realization yourself, or a conclusion that, yeah, it's right. Or no, I don't agree with that. I think it could be something else. And then you take your reflection further. But we have to reflect on these things. What do we mean when we say loving? And when we have our metta practice, which we do all the time. I've been doing it now for 50 years. And I'm not tired of it, because the essence of it is so beautiful. May I be free from anger and ill will. These two forces in my life that take me to unhappiness. May I be free from fear and anxiety. I told you that fear was the starting point of my whole Dharma life. I was so afraid of everything as an adolescent. How awful is that, to be consumed by fear when you're just a young man, or a young woman in your case? How is that? So my Dharma journey began with the idea of, I want to be free from this fear. And then probably 10 years later, maybe a little bit more, I arrived in my teacher's monastery, and he said those words that changed my life. If you want to be happy in your life, you have to cultivate a loving heart. I heard those words obviously with my ears, but they arrived directly in my heart. And that's when my kind of true Dharma life began. So may I be free from anger and ill will, to wish that for yourself. May I be free from fear and anxiety, to wish that for yourself. May I be free from suffering and pain, to wish that for yourself. May I be free from ignorance and desire, to wish that for yourself. To be free from ignorance and desire. Ignorance means just not knowing how the world, the internal world operates. That we are blind and we can't see. But in that blindness, we still want to be happy. And so we pursue the things that we think will make us happy. And we follow our desires. But each desire that we follow, and even when we manage to achieve our desire, it disappoints us because it's never enough. It's never, ever enough. And so with our reflection, with the opening of the heart, we begin to see that love is not just liking someone or falling in love as we do with romantic or emotional love, but it's just a simple being in life that has no conditions attached to it, including fear. Love is the fearless state. There is no fear. When love is present, there's no fear. When fear is present, there's no love. So if we understand loving kindness as both loving in the sense of caring and compassion, and also at the same time just unlimited acceptance, then we have a feeling towards what metta really means. And then the other part is upekkha, which means equanimity. Again, these are so subtle. These are the things that you need to reflect upon. What does it mean to be equanimous? Does it mean to be cold and impersonal and not to care about other people or the situation or the planet? Does it mean that? Well, of course not. Because the essence of Buddha Dhamma is, this caring, loving awareness. So what does it mean? It means very simply to be in balance in life. To recognize the truth that the Buddha spoke about, his very, very last teaching. When he sat there in front of all his monks and his nuns and all the laymen and laywomen, this 80-year-old man, very sick, almost at the point of death. And he said, this is my last teaching. I've saved the best to the last. Here it is. Whatever arises passes away and is not what you are. Now work hard to understand this. Whatever arises passes away and is not what you are. How can you understand that? What quality do you need to be in peace with this, that there is nothing you can grasp at that you can call yours, there's nothing you can hold on to, that everything is a process of arising and passing away. And in that process, there is nothing permanent, nothing fixed. There is no fixed self. The quality you need to be in peace with that is equanimity. So you just, so it's like this. This is what I am as a human being. This never-ending stream of thoughts, moods, feelings, and emotions, conditioning the arising of subatomic particles of matter that we call the body. And that's what I am, that's what you are, that's what you are, that's what we all are. And so when we meet, I can say to you, hello, you never-ending stream of thoughts, moods, feelings, and emotions, conditioning the arising of subatomic particles of matter that we call the body. And you can say, oh yes, hello, you never-ending stream of thoughts, moods, feelings, and emotions, conditioning the arising of subatomic particles of matter that we call the body. It's too much, and it's not clear. So we give that process a label. And the label on this process is Michael. But it's a label. It's not who or what I am. It's a label on a process. How can we be at peace with that process that says we're nothing? We're just a never-ending stream of thoughts, moods, feelings, and emotions. We're just this body at this gross physical level going through life, arising and passing away, passing through old age and sickness and death, and none of it's personal. None of it's about you. Not any part of life is about you. You just make it about you. So how can we live with those kinds of truths? Well, we have love on the one side, a caring relationship with ourselves, and equanimity. This balance of, it's like this. No need to get upset because life doesn't configure to my thought patterns, or that it doesn't work out the way I want it to. It's just like this. Well, that's fine, really, isn't it? The Buddha's final teaching, everything that arises passes away and is not what you are. This thought you experience, this mood, this feeling, this emotion, they're not yours. They're not what you are. And this is what you can say, this is part of the Vipassana practice. At any moment you're troubled, you can say this simple thing. It's not me, it's not mine, it's not what I am. Perfect. So relax. And that sounds like such a flippant remark. So just relax. But that's what you need to do. You need to relax or surrender into the reality of this being that we call self, which is this never-ending stream of thoughts, moods, feelings, and emotions, conditioning the arising of subatomic particles of matter that we call the body. So we have equanimity, and then we have love. These two perfections. The Buddha brought these two to perfection in many of his lives. But how do they operate in practical terms? You know, when I speak about the emptiness of a self-identity, okay, that kind of fits very well in the Dharma hall, but how do we understand this in our ordinary everyday life when we're doing the shopping? Well, actually, it fits very well, I have to say, but you have to reflect upon it. It is like, you know, they say like peeling an onion. There's all these different layers that you have to keep taking off. And you do it in this joyful, relaxed and calm, peaceful way. Life is not threatening. The things that we meet through our meditation, they're not threatening. Only if we don't like them, then we create a story around them. But if we can be at peace with them, then they're just things arising and passing away. If we can be equanimous. And we can be equanimous, but we just have to learn how to let go of the things that obscure that equanimity. So I just thought I'd tell you this. It's a 3-sentence story, but it's very nice, and I think it represents quite well the loving kindness that I'm speaking about and the equanimity I'm speaking about. So there was an old man whose wife had died. And they'd been together a long, long time. And the husband was really upset by the death of his wife. And he was sitting out on the porch of his house one day, one afternoon. He's just sitting there. But he's overwhelmed by his grief. And so he's crying, we say weeping, so it's kind of silent crying. And he's sitting there. And the little boy from across the road sees him. And so the little boy walks across the road onto the porch or the patio of this old man and climbs up onto his knee and just hugs him. And then sometime later, when the mother is talking to the little boy, she said, "What did you say to our neighbor? What did you say to the old man when you sat on his knee?" And the little boy said, "Oh, I didn't say anything. I just helped him cry." It's so beautiful. So love, we have this loving, compassionate part also, which is to take care of people. But it's also to accept that this old man was in this situation. We don't need to change it. We don't say it's wrong. We don't say, "Oh, now pull yourself together." It's just, this is what's happening in this moment. And maybe I can be a force for good in that, just to show you that, at least conventionally, you're not alone. I understand your suffering. This is how love works. It's not that you have to like the person, but you have to accept this is what's happening now. And then all the other perfections come into play, like your dana, to offer something of yourself, and then your morality, that is something pure, etc., etc. Until eventually you're just left with this spontaneous reaction that someone is suffering, and you possibly can contribute to their welfare. So we have that was the loving part. And then, the equanimous part, which is, well, I don't mind that you're in this state because I can't do anything about it. The world that you experience, this old man, for example, the world that he experiences is unique and personal to him. We don't know what that world is like. We don't know what it's like when our wife of 50, 60 years dies. We can't know that. We can only know our own world. And in our own world, we meet suffering. All kinds of just small things, just little bits of suffering. But if they are big enough to be called suffering, then they're big enough to pay attention to. And what's suffering for one person may not be suffering for someone else. And this is, again, what we have to understand from the perspective of equanimity, upekkha, and metta, loving kindness. That the world we experience is the one that we create for ourselves moment after moment. And that world is unique and personal to us, as the worlds of other beings are unique and personal to them. We don't know what it's like to be someone else, but we know what suffering is. That's the point I'm trying to make. We don't know what their world is, but we know what suffering is. We know that if a relationship ends or something like that, then we know the pain that we feel. So when someone else's relationship ends, we can at least have an idea of what they're going through. And we don't have to say, well, pull yourself together, he was no good for you, or she was no good, or whatever. We don't have to contribute to their suffering, but just to be a friend. I think in Dharma, in Buddhist teaching, we have something called the Kalyanamitta. The Kalyanamitta is the spiritual friend. It's not the friend that we usually have that takes you down to the pub on a Friday night and gets you drunk. It's not that friend, but it's the friend who cares for your spiritual welfare. Technically, it means the Kalyanamitta is the one that gives you your meditation object. That's really how it is. But now it's broader, and it means, the community, the community of people that we know who are on the same path as us, and we take care of each other, not in a kind of sycophantic way, or not in a way that's not natural, but just in the opposite, in a natural way, that we just care for each other. We ask each other, "How are you?" And instead of walking away before they can answer, we listen. How are you? How are things now? How is your husband? How is your wife? How is your life? That we take an interest, not that we can do anything about it, but that we can share our love for that person, just in these very simple ways. We don't have to do very much, but just to show our Dharma, just to show our love. So we have loving kindness, the Metta Bhavana, the cultivation of love. And we call it in English loving kindness, but also much clearer than that is the expression of love and kindness. This is so beautiful, love and kindness. The first time I heard that, I thought, well, that's it. Yes, that's exactly it. Love and kindness. Love is our relationship to the situation, this unconditional, boundless, limitless acceptance of the situation. And our response then is kindness. It is to be kind to each other, to be kind to ourselves. The first person we have loving kindness for is ourselves. So we take care, and we must take care of ourselves if we are serious disciples or students of Dharma. We must take care of ourselves, because this body and this mind is our vehicle for awakening. If you're not taking care of yourself, then maybe you're going to have difficulties with your health, or just be exhausted. Then you can't do your meditation, then you can't reflect properly, then your life, you're just missing the moments of practice, these precious, precious moments. You're just missing the moments. So we have the loving kindness to, first of all, offer to ourselves, may I be well and happy. Me, this one who often I think is not worthy of anything, who I was told when I was a child is just a waste of space, perhaps. One lady I knew told me that when she was a young woman, her mother told her that if any man ever asks you to marry them, you should say yes, because they won't ask twice. Yeah, it's not nice. When we have the possibility to be kind to someone, we should take it, just to do it, for no reason. Now, we can say that this lady's mother, she has her own story that we don't know. We don't know why she would be so unpleasant in that moment. This is, something else to bear in mind. We don't know the story of other people, but we can be equanimous with it and loving. We can be accepting of it and not rush to judge it or to do something about it. But we can just be attentive to that. Beings are the way they are. That's their choice. They don't know they're making that choice because of their karma. The karma arises, and they, if they have no, let's say, vipassana experience, then they just instinctively act on it. They grasp at something. We're like animals. Somebody asked me just recently, it was about dogs. Can dogs become enlightened? Or, no, I think actually that's not right. What he said was, are dogs enlightened? And the answer is, well, from a Buddhist perspective, the answer is no. And the reason is not that we have anything against dogs at all, but dogs, like all animals, can't reflect upon their own nature. They can't sit and look at a bowl of ice cream and think, well, I'll have that in 5 minutes. They can't think like that. They're just on it immediately. Cats are the same, but all animals are. And if we don't understand Dharma properly, even though we may dress in monks' robes and nuns' robes, if we don't understand properly, then we're giving the wrong information and people end up being confused. So when I was in India, we had our retreats, of course, and one American guy came on the retreat, and he'd come from a place which is kind of across the road, but maybe half a kilometre away. Very famous, in fact, called the Root Institute, and he'd done a course there of Tibetan Buddhism, because it's a Tibetan Buddhist place. And he came to my room at one time, maybe for the private interview, I don't remember, but he told me this story, that he was on this course of Tibetan Buddhism at the Root Institute, and it was excellent. It was really, really good. He enjoyed it until the last day, which is when a Tibetan, again another American Tibetan nun, gave her course. And he said the course was wonderful. Nothing wrong with the course. Until at the end she said, are there any questions? And somebody said, yes, I have a question. Can animals become enlightened? And as I just said, the standard Buddhist answer is no. No, they can't become enlightened because they're not able to reflect upon their own nature. That's why. And that's why we have this blessed life. We have the body of an animal, the body that's stuck to the earth, but we have the mind of a god. So that's the perfect combination for awakening. We can reflect upon this being that we call self. So the question was, can animals become enlightened? And she said no. But then somebody said, well, what about whales and dolphins? Because they're these highly intelligent mammals. So what about whales and dolphins? And this nun thought for a moment, and she said, no. Whales and dolphins cannot become enlightened because they cannot bow to the Buddha, and they cannot sit in the lotus posture. So it is better to be quiet than give an answer like that. It's better to say, I don't know, than to give an answer like that. So once we begin to understand the whole of Dharma, actually not just the perfections, we begin to see that, yes, they're part of a story. They're part of the path of the Bodhisattva. Okay, that's very nice. That's a story from Sumedha to Gautama the Buddha. Thousands and thousands of lifetimes, going through all the time, looking at all these different things and bringing each one a little bit more to perfection, beginning with dana and ending with upekkha, with equanimity. But in our ordinary life as well, the things I've been speaking about, they're important for us. And why? Not because they are religious things, because they're not. What am I speaking about? Living a good and kind life. There's nothing religious about that. But they're important because they bring happiness to us. The wiser you are, the happier you are. The more loving you are, the happier you are. The more equanimous you are, the happier you are. And so on and so on and so on. When the world does not disturb you, then your internal world is just at peace. And the way the world does not disturb you is coming to this point where you no longer believe in it. It's there, it exists, and you can go out, you can have a meal, you can go and watch a rock concert, I suppose, if you want to do that. You can go and enjoy that world, but you still don't carry it with you. You still don't believe it has the power to make you happy. You just enjoy it in different moments. It's not where we live. It's just where we go to shop. It's something like that. So this is the 10 perfections. And as my teacher encouraged me, I just encourage you. Reflect upon these things. How important is dana? How important is morality? How important is renunciation? How important is, well, all the rest? How important are these things? Now, I will tell you, for your own happiness, for your own well-being, they're very important. So reflect upon them. But you don't have to bring each one to perfection today or this week or something like that. But you just have to be, actually, in the end, you only have to be aware of how you live. Because when you're aware, you will see the things that don't take you to happiness, and then you can just let them go. So then, for the final time for this seminar, I offer this to you for your consideration and your reflection, and may you all be well and happy.